What's going on, everybody? John here with you. It's a Thursday, January 8th, 2026, and thankfully I got the year correct. We're just starting a new one. I was a little bit wrong on that release date for Dragon Quest 1 and 2, wasn't I, after 3 came out. It's definitely a year after, and for November last year I thought it was going to be a little bit sooner, but maybe that time in the oven ended up giving everything that you need. So this is the end of the Erdrick Trilogy, as you know, and just a little housekeeping note, my review of 3 is already posted, and a tier list of the Dragon Quest games already posted prior to the trilogy that was just released over the last year, and then this one. So kind of see where everything shapes up. You can follow those 2 reviews. Again, I had DQ3 from that HD-2D remake just outside 8 and 11. And when I made this review to get this posted to make this talking point for you, I realized that I didn't use a lot of Dragon Quest 1 HD-2D footage. I probably should have split it more to half. But that's just how good Dragon Quest II HD 2D Remake was. I couldn't stop playing it. I was so shocked at the amount of content that they added. I loved all the camaraderie between your teammates, the extra character that's put in, the extra story beats, how everything is just seamless, nothing feels tacked on, nothing feels forced. It's perfect. And I'm going to tell you this now, honestly, in between Dragon Quest 8 and 11, this 2 remake for HD 2D is now my 3rd favorite game in the series. And it's not even close. Those are going to be the standalone in perfection, 8, 11, and 2. So here's where we go. New story beats in Dragon Quest 1 and 2. If you love the lore and you love the backstory for the hero in DQ1, again, it's mostly a solo adventure, but in this HD-2D version, you're going to have multiple enemies on the screen, no more 1v1 battles. So that's pretty cool there. You also get introduced to the sigil system in DQ1 and 2. Now, I'll be completely honest with you, in the first game, I don't think I used it all that well, and I didn't really understand how to use it. By the time I got into the second game, I used it all the time, and I think that was the benefactor of having multiple party members, having their health values dip below 50%, and finding different ways for it to activate and getting used to playing the game. So I think, 1, it kind of took me by surprise. I didn't use it a lot much. 2, I used it a lot, but I really like the way it works. So as you pick up the sigils, think about the crests in DQ2. You know, the sun crest, moon crest, water crest, all the things that you had to have to progress to get the Hargon. You essentially then use these to your acquiesce in battle, so you can land more critical hits, so you can recover MP on defend, so you can hold the square button in your battle selection for what you want to choose to attack with, and if it flashes green as it goes across, you don't have to complete it all the way through, otherwise your action will be done, but you can see what abilities and spells get powered up after your health reaches a certain level, or if you're buffed, it may activate. There are certain other ways to get it to work. I think it's pretty cool, and it also adds a little brevity to your characters to see what skills you like, what works well for you, and kind of just tailor everything when you get your strength seeds, defense seeds, all those things too, to who you want to have the most damage, who you want to have your best spellcaster, and everything else. So we talk about some of the story beats. You added in DQ1, Princess Gwaelin has a lot of other talking with you. If you don't necessarily take her home right away, you can kind of have fun just like you did in the initial game. But she's more of your cheerleader there, and that's pretty damn cool. In DQ2, there is new story beats. Once you get the ship, you can go down even below the depths to find new areas to explore, new full story beats that are part of the game and not tack on add. They're a lot of fun as well. When you talk about DQ3 and the map marker helping you figure out where to go, you have a lot of that in 1 and 2. So you remember all the parts in Dragon Quest II when you got toward the end and the game wasn't scaled very well? Well, that's all done. Everything is in the right side, and you can still add or adjust or increase the difficulty as you did in between DQ3, but all those story beats in the map are there. No more getting lost in DQ2, so that's always great. You have the new spots with the ship, as we said. You have the camaraderie fully voice acted in between your teammates. So the way that it was set, you have Prince of Mindenhall, Cannock, Moonbrook, and then you also have the Princess of Cannock, who was added in there. Again, she was part of the story in the Game Boy Color and NES version, but she didn't go with your team. Now she does, and everything has been adjusted so seamlessly in terms of the difficulty that it feels like it already should have been an addition. That's what makes it so great about an HD-2D remake. You get everything else from the original game and you continue to add on to it. There's no reimagining here. It's everything that you would want. So you like that there. The Princess of Cannock is just like the hero in DQ1, I would say, as far as the balance. Can do a little bit of everything. Is that fair to say? Let me know what you think at John Ryanot. But as far as Mindenhall, again, it's the same. You have all the physical attacks, no spells. The Prince of Cannock, they used to make the comparison about him being in the coffin. No more. You can have the Kasap spell and everything else, and it's absolutely terrific. And once you get the duplication hat and wild side, you can turn your 2 attacks into 4 with spells. So pretty much make sure you give wild side to Prince of Cannock, because also in this game there is the introduction of scrolls. Now, some scrolls that you end up finding are limited, so make sure you put them on the right characters. Most of them are not, but wild side is. You want to make sure Fran, she comes with it on a certain level, and Carl, you have the wild side on him. If you're confused by the names, again, that is part of the Game Boy Color names for Carl and Fran, one of the ones that you were given. So if you're going to play it from Game Boy Color, from DQ2 and play this, I use the same names, and I left Matilda as the name as it started with, and I always use your main name as the first character. That's the way that I always did it. So you'll see in the ship here where I'm stopping, you're able to dive deep underwater when you get a certain item. Then a couple of the stopping points. That first island that you saw was Slime Island, where you can fight metal slimes. And the second one, you need an item for that first, by the way. And the second one is the shrine just outside of Mindenhall, where you can fight a bunch of stronger enemies as soon as you get the ship, and then you can level up that way. This is a battle that you have to do late, and I believe it was you can only attack on odd turns, unless it was even, but it was either even or odd. You kind of buff yourself up one way and then do it that way. That fight kicked my ass more times than I'd like to mention, but once I figured out the pattern, it was all pretty good. So here's what I want to mention. All the other story beats, I'm not going to go ahead and spoil everything, although we do have a sequence at the end of this 15 minutes. We're about halfway through now. We talked about the sigils, talked about some of the combat, talked about how you don't get lost, you have the extra story beats. I want to spend a portion of this review to talk about the post-game, because in DQ3 I mentioned to you I didn't have any really reason to want to play it. I capped out at about 50 hours and I was completely done with it. Now you're going to see a Zenlon fight here. This is part of the post-game. So once you get through the Cave of Confusion, you might want to look that up on YouTube as far as where to walk down which set of stairs, which path to go to. I think there is maybe 25 floors or something like that. You go to those little spots like Slime Island and everything else, get enough levels, and then use Holy Protection. You don't have to fight anything inside Cave of Confusion. Make sure you pick everything up, open all the chests, even if they're Pandora's box. But you want to make sure you get all that stuff, because you're going to get a meteorite bracer, you're going to get a bunch of other stuff that's going to really help you. And toward the end of it, that gives you a ridiculous amount of agility and luck. It's pretty sick there. You get an extra duplication hat. It's worth doing. You pick up the Sphere of Light. Now, you talked about the Dragon Quest 1 and the Dragon Lord, correct? And you go into DQ2, and if you play the Game Boy Color version, you see Dragon Lord's great-grandson. Now, you get to talk to him. He seems like a great guy. And he's pretty damn cool. I like all the aspect of the story beats that they've done from 3 and 1 and 2. It's perfect. But you actually get to have some fun with Dragon Lord's great-grandson as far as a big-time fight. Again, that's spoiled from you as far as the trophy listing and everything else. Do that, because you get some extra story beats there, and you get some pretty sick equipment on top of that. So when you get to the end, and you have to fight Hargon, and you go through all the other trials and other bosses that they've added, which is pretty cool backstory as well. You get to fight the true evil in around Hargon, and then you get some excellent story beats that also add to the original Dragon Lord, the history of that, and through your characters as well. And then on top of the post game, which everything is voice acted and all that stuff too, and you get all those extra story beats. You also get to take that little ride that you get toward the third act of DQ3 when you finish all that off, back to Eliahan, and get a really cool sequence there. So you go from generation to generation to generation, to Ortega, to his son, to the hero from DQ1, to the Scions in DQ2, and you wrap that all up in a fantastic fucking bow that can't be missed. So as I said in DQ3, the post-game, no, I'm not really concerned about it. Again, all of your other characters are just nameless characters that don't have anything else to the one that you begin with in the story. Now when you have the Prince of Cannock, Princess of Moonbrook, and you also have the Princess of Cannock here with their own backstories and talking and everything else, I think it's all worth it. The post-game ties it all together in an experience that can't be missed. I think it's a bunch of different backstory and leverage that you're going to want to see in battles that you're going to want to play. Now, with the Zenlon and Cloud's Gate Citadel for post-game help here, all I'm going to tell you is fight him. Again, you're going to have to fight him 8 times because you can pick up 3 critical claim scrolls to get automatic critical hits on liquid metal slimes. You get a sick sword, you get a couple of puff fun, and you also get a new stall for liquid metal slime equipment for those tombola tickets. You know how they were lottery tickets in DQ2 that you could get when you got all the crests, you got a loyalty card to be able to lower down prices in stores. It still kind of works that way, but there's a lot of other things that you can pick up, and the liquid metal stuff is hard to get, but it's fun. So we've gone through some of the tactics, I've talked about some of the backstory, and then when you get into Cloud's Gate Citadel, after you fight Zenlon a bunch of times, use the critical claim on those liquid metal slimes, all you got to do is use Whistle, just like you did in DQ3, Carl will have it, and then you can fight a bunch of hard enemies, but liquid metal slimes that give you a ton of XP. So as mentioned, this remake, trilogy, and everything else is beautiful. DQ1 is probably what you would expect. They do add some other backstory there, and I do love the fact of the 16th century English. They kind of really pressed on that. It wasn't overly done, but I like the way that they kept that in the original and have Princess Gwaelin. That's pretty cool. They added some extra things, but DQ2 is where the meat and potatoes and everything else go, as you expect. Again, as I've said, I'm so stunned at the amount of content that they added, and it was a great game in amongst itself. Now, you could, if Square wanted to, release 1 and 2 separately as they were on the NES. They were together in the Game Boy Color, and I don't think I'd bat an eye paying full price for either one of these games, but DQ2 by itself, with all the stuff they added, is just worth it alone as far as that. I know everyone's going to go back and play both because you want to go through the whole trilogy, but I'm telling you, it's that good. And in the grand scheme of things, in between 8, 11, and 2, you talked about the poor balancing and the lack of map and everything else, as I mentioned. Well, it fixes all that stuff in 2, and then it brings it all home. And if anyone tells you that 8, 11, and 2 is your third favorite game, or if it wants to be your favorite game of all time, take it, because I can't argue with anyone anymore. Check out this sequence, it's sick. So I know it's something small as far as when you would always go home in DQ3, but the mother sees the helmet. Again, I have the full Erdrick equipment again, this time putting on the main hero when you get all the extra stuff. I felt a little teary-eyed when I saw that at the end, just like the very clip at the beginning. And then I love the way that it all comes together. That's when you visit and do everything else. That'll be the only spoiler that you will see, because there's too much other content that you have to check out that I don't want to spoil. And it's really, I gave DQ3 a 9. I could give this entire package a 10 or a 9.5, because if you want to give DQ1 maybe an 8, you would at least give DQ2 a 10. I don't know how you can give anything less. It's everything that you would want to be fixed. And there's your platinum trophy right there. Let me know what your final thoughts are. Facebook.com/JohnRyan on NX as well. I really want to know, because this game was excellent. I appreciate your time.